never be able to see each other again.
Oh my gosh!
And you'll be put up for adoption.
Oh my gosh!
And you'll be adopted by some other kid.
Oh my god! Wait, what kid? Because if it's that cute blonde girl down the street, that wouldn't be so bad.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends has taken on many, many different genres before. Whether it was like that horror episode in season 1 where Bloo was a ghost, or The Big Lebowski, which was essentially like a Big Lebowski parody. This season covers, quote-unquote con artists going to a whole new country, an entire wartime sequence, even Mr. Harriman battling with addiction. This whole season is just throwing me for a loop because I was not expecting half the episodes to take place that did. While I deemed last season probably the funniest, I would definitely deem this season the most wackiest because they are not afraid to take you places that you didn't even know Foster's was meant to go. So let's jump into the third season of Foster's Home and see just how far they're willing to push these imaginary friends and just why it gets so crazy.
Hey now, yeah, shine off, red, robot.
What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, focusing on 2000s movies, TV, and so much more. And here we're focused on Johnny Toons, which is going over cartoons, because they didn't really work on my main channel, like, with all the teen stuff, so we're trying to make this go to Johnny Toons by itself. So please subscribe to that channel and check it out where I'm going to cover a lot more shows. But until then, let's jump in.
Hey, wait a minute. I know you.
The first episode of Season 3 is called Eddie Monster, and this actually feels like a parody of Nacho Libre, like right off the bat, and it's got some really funny moments. So it starts out with everybody making fun of Eduardo because of how scared he is. He won't even go into the giant monster pit, which, by the way, almost killed somebody before, so of course he's scared, but Bloo just keeps egging him on and is like, why wouldn't you go in? And when he does, he kind of has a panic attack, and everybody makes fun of him. So he is just pushed around over and over, and I feel bad for him.
You like potatoes, but I could joke.
We could read a book.
Yeah, can we stand? Is standing all right?
Bloo eggs him on to actually run away from home, which is way too far, Bloo. I can't believe he does this. Meanwhile, Terrence, of all people, comes back. You know, Terrence from the first and second season.
I am Terrence's imaginary friend. See? You just can't see him. That's his power.
The literal antagonist, Mac's brother, he's in the junkyard and wants to compete with the other teenagers, but you don't really know why, until he runs into Eduardo, and he's like, hey, like, you should be my imaginary friend to get involved in this underground fighting rink. So he puts him in a cape, and then it turns out they have imaginary friend fights, and this must be illegal somehow because it's sketchy, and Eduardo just becomes a hero. Honestly, he does this, like, underground fighting rink because they said he's not capable, and now he is.
You did it!
I did? What'd I do?
You won!
I won? What'd I win?
So all the other friends realize that he must have ran away and start picking on Bloo because obviously that was so stupid. Meanwhile, Terrence is actually making Eduardo successful, but he's the one gaining all the success from it. So of course, like, this villain just has to take it on, and Terrence just becomes like a horrible manager. But then, you know, of course, he accidentally breaks it to Mac, and everybody knows exactly where he is.
I mean, why would he want all these potatoes? So he could eat them all before he fights the Extremosaur Ultimate Battle Tournament? Where do you come up with this stuff?
I didn't. You did.
So they go watch him do the fight of his life and actually dress up as the fighters, which is so funny. I love it when Bloo dresses up as the other characters. So yeah, Eduardo is ready to take down another imaginary friend, and yeah, it's Bloo this time. So he gets super violent, and his fears end up taking him to the next level. There's a bunch of parody moments in this too, which I was not expecting, like Ed, and Eddie make an appearance in this, and then Pikachu, of all things, start threatening him. But Eduardo ends up saving all his friends from this, like, little Pokemon-like imaginary friend, and Terrence just goes haywire.
No way! How a scaredy baby like you!
I am no scaredy baby!
with Eduardo actually standing up for himself, and all around, like, it's a fun episode of watching Eduardo get his confidence back. It feels like a whole parody of Nacho Libre in the best way. Like, it's definitely really fun, and watching the friends road trip to try to save him, but, like, it's just crazy how dark it gets. The fact that they pit imaginary friends against each other in a rink, it reminds me of, like, animal fighting, like, where you would bet on it. Like, that can't be legal, especially in this world. But yeah, Eddie Monster, fun episode.
I know the perfect guy for the job. What do you mean you won't do it?
I told you, I'm just not into the whole pageant scene.
But you subscribe to Pageant Scene magazine.
For the free perfume samples.
The second episode in this season is actually super crazy. It's called Hiccup and Burp, and I don't even know why this is a plot. So there's this really pretentious rich kid at school named... I actually don't know his name. He talks about his imaginary friend more, so his imaginary friend is named Blake Superior. So Mac has to listen to this guy brag about his imaginary friend all day long throughout school.
But because Blake Superior is awesome and he's got this intense focus and he's like the best video game player there's ever been, he still managed to get the high score on Turbo Motor Racer 3.
And it's so funny the tone of voice he uses when he's bragging. He's like not even interested in his brag. Like, it's so ridiculous. So Mac one day is like, stop talking about it, it's so annoying. And this guy is just like, sorry, I'm superior. And he gets his imaginary friend who is extra cool, and he's like this superhero flying tiger, which is, it feels like Tony the Tiger, honestly. Things actually heat up when we learn that Foster's is going to be doing a pageant for imaginary friends. Mac is already doing sign-ups, and Blake Superior comes on by, and this rich kid is like signing up just to prove Mac and Blue that they are the superior friend.
You remember Blake Superior? Of course you do. Oh, and isn't that your imaginary friend over there?
Blue is super competitive and definitely wants to be involved in this. His hiccups end up being like a huge detriment to the whole thing, so Mac is like, we gotta get these to stop, because if you don't have these during the pageant, we're gonna have a problem.
These?
Yes, them. Are you telling me you've never had the hiccups?
No, never.
So they tried a bunch of different things to get rid of these hiccups, and it does not work, which this is such a relatable thing for me, because I hate hiccups. They're so frustrating. Eventually, Blue realizes that these hiccups are actually their key to success. Everybody thinks that they're a work of art and they should perform them in the talent show, which I can't believe this is even making a turn.
Seen anybody do that with hiccups?
What artistry! It was okay, I guess.
So Blake Superior and this rich kid show up to Foster's very suspiciously, and you're like, what's going on here? Right when they decide to do the hiccups as their act, Blue realizes that he's completely out of them. Oh my gosh. So then it's pageant night, and Mr. Harriman and Madam Foster are the judges, with Wilt being the host. It's actually really kind of funny, because he like stumbles a lot, and he gets taken off the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen, sorry. That's lardies and gentlemen. Sorry. I mean, Sarzy. Oh, no, sorry. That's not right. Sorry, Sadie?
And then, yeah, Coco ends up announcing instead. So everybody involved in this pageant just like has to look superior, answer a bunch of questions, and it's just so hard for Mac and Blue to keep up because he needs to get his hiccups back. Next thing you know, Blake Superior steals his act and starts hicking up himself. Oh my gosh, is hicking up even the term? Ends up starting to interrupt Blake Superior once he does get him back, and actually wins over the audience. So yeah, they have a huge hiccup off on stage, and everybody is so hyped for it. When Blake ends up losing the whole thing, the rich kid ends up yelling at him on stage. So I guess you can have abused imaginary friends, because this is a sad sight for sure.
Superior!
More like inferior.
To me.
Blue and Mac end up winning over Blake Superior, but not winning in general, so I guess the episode ends fairly for everyone. All around, it's so funny they have a beauty pageant episode of this show. I was not expecting that. But yeah, this was a good one.
Help! Help! Madam Foster!
Yes?
I mean, that's what you would have said if any of you went into the woods.
So the next episode is called Camp Keep a Good Mac Down, and I was not expecting a camping episode, but hey, if Foster's wants to do it, Foster's is gonna do it, guys. Mac and Bloo are begging Harriman to go camping. I mean, Mac is. Bloo doesn't know what he's asking for, which is kind of funny. And he's just like, no, we're not gonna go out with savages and wild animals, until Madam Foster wants to go, and then Mr. Harriman's like, okay, cool, we'll go.
Sorry, Blue. It just won't fit.
Well, yeah, look at all this useless stuff you got in here. Sleeping bag, pillow, matches, emergency flares, first aid kit.
They actually get to the forest, and Mr. Harriman treats it like a campground, so I guess this is going to be a Mr. Harriman episode. Bloo keeps eating every single piece of food the group has, and I can only see where this is going survival-wise. And this rabbit becomes even more when he asks them to pitch the tent so perfectly that he insists they take down every imperfect time they put it up. And it's kind of disrespectful, like Mr. Harriman's going way too far with this.
Too narrow. Too wide. Just right. Tear it down.
Once it hits nighttime, it turns out Bloo ate all the food during that whole montage, which is very frustrating. Bloo just doesn't care about anybody but himself.
I packed extra rations.
Ate it.
I have...
Ate it. That powder? Tried it. Threw it away.
So everybody thinks they're gonna starve. Wilt even volunteers to starve first, which I think is ridiculous. Wilt is a little too good of a person. So they go out looking for something to eat, which they find blueberries. And Bloo, of course, first one to get them. Wilt helps him retrieve them and gets stuck in quicksand, so Bloo doesn't really seem to care that Wilt is stuck in quicksand. He just stays there for the rest of the episode, and Bloo eats all the blueberries. Okay, yeah, so they're fighting for their lives here. They end up having dinner on the campsite thanks to Coco. She's able to give them eggs of just a bunch of different stuff, which I don't know why that can't just get them out of the situation. Whatever, Coco.
Would you kindly lay an opener of the cunning persuasion? What do you mean you don't take requests?
Things start going haywire when Madam Foster tells Mr. Harriman to go into the woods and get food instead of complaining, which, hey, I'm on her side. So he heads out into the woods, and we don't really see him again for a while, which is actually kind of stressful. Mac tries to make Bloo forage for food because he's the one who ate everything, which is fair. I agree with you, Mac. Everybody starts getting a little bit more paranoid in the woods as things get more and more dangerous. Wilt starts sinking more. Max starts hearing voices. It gets a little horror themed. Mr. Harriman has an existential crisis when he runs into a bunch of actual rabbits and like you don't know what to make of it.
You found honey? Why didn't you bring it back to eat?
Because I needed it for my beer, duh.
Meanwhile, the actual crew just gets so paranoid that they get stuck in quicksand. Yeah, and then they just, I don't know, their lives are over, essentially. Of course, they're still mad at Bloo, as anybody would be. But surprise, surprise, Mr. Harriman comes out of the woodwork and starts saving everybody as a full wild animal, which I'm a little confused about because I thought he was an imaginary friend. Like, how does he have this primal instinct like this?
They're helping, they're helping!
The funniest part of the episode is revealing that this was just in the backyard of Foster's. Like, they didn't end up actually going anywhere far. Like, Frankie just walks in and it feels like nothing mattered. It's a funny ending to the episode, honestly. But yeah, this is a really interesting one. I didn't expect Foster's to do a camping episode.
Hey, who's a kid? I'm one of them, make-em-up pals.
See, here's one of us make-em-up pals.
The next episode is actually super funny. It's called Imposter's Home for, Make-em-up Pals. And this is, like, a Frankie-centric episode, and honestly, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It just kind of solves a lot of mysteries I have about Foster's. It starts out with Frankie proving to Bloo that she's always right. Like, they both have this jar of whenever they're right, somebody gets change, and Frankie just keeps building hers.
I knew this was a bad idea.
Well, you should have said something.
I did. That's a bad idea.
Bloo pushes Frankie to, like, the max, because after this giant goo situation happens and she cleans it all up, he's like, yeah, I could definitely do worse. And it's like, wait, what? Why would we talk about this?
When's the last time I caused you any trouble?
This is where Frankie's temper comes out, and she's like, I'm not in the mood for any fun and games. And guess who shows up in the door? Fun and games. Yeah, it looks like a teenager with a wacky tie and a fake clown nose on.
Yeah, you give people like me free food and a place to crash and hang out and whatnot.
No, we give imaginary friends those things, not people, especially not weirdo teenage boys.
Frankie dismisses him pretty quickly, but Mr. Harriman is like, we will never dismiss a friend in need. And this kid is like just skipping school or like something. At least that's what they want you to think. He ends up making up his name on the spot, and he does this throughout the episode. His name is Goofball McGee. And Frankie is just like, why would we let this guy in? He's clearly fake, and everybody else believes that he's an actual friend. Frankie is appointed to help him at so many different times, and she's like, I do not want to, and he even has homework.
Are you doing homework?
Yeah, I guess it's, kinda.
I'm not helping you with your homework.
But yeah, she keeps getting told to do that, and this guy is so needy. Even when she's trying to close down a nursery, which I didn't even know they had little baby imaginary friends, that's so cute, he starts waking them up, which is so frustrating for her, honestly. Frankie is not in the mood to help him. Meanwhile, nobody's on Frankie's side. They're like, come on, like, he's an imaginary friend, you have to help him. Things escalate even further when Goofball invites over his friends, and they just look like other teenagers that are making up why they're there. So Frankie decides to confront this boy.
If you're not an imaginary friend, I want you out! That means you, and you, and you, and you!
She runs up to him in the arcade and actually is like, what's going on here? Meanwhile, still nobody's believing her. He's even complaining about her. So she's like, okay, fine, call your family. And he's like, yeah, they're from Canada. So she's like, okay, go ahead, call them. And apparently they didn't answer. Surprise, surprise.
Like, what do you mean phones? Like, telephones? Sure, we got them.
So call him.
I, don't remember the number so good.
Here's a phone book.
So things just get more and more wacky. So Frankie decides to fight fire with fire and dress up like an imaginary friend to prove that you can just trick people into thinking this, like maybe he's not real. Of course, everybody starts to believe her except for Mac, who's like, why are you dressed like that? And he's the only one that can see through it, which is funny because he's a human. Obviously he could. So Frankie is just driven to the absolute brim.
What are we gonna do?
Who's gonna tuck me in?
Who's gonna brush my teeth?
Who is going to starch and iron my fancy dress shirts?
You don't have any fancy dress shirts.
But what if I get them?
And her anger ends up confronting him and actually taking off his nose, and he's like super embarrassed, and it turns out he has an elephant trunk as a nose just when his actual family shows up. Oh my gosh. So it turns out everything this guy said about the whole situation was true. He is an imaginary friend, he's not a teenager, and for some reason he just wanted to have teenagers over and drive Frankie up the wall. I think it's just like his nonchalant attitude is the reason that she's like even thinking that he's a teenager, which is so funny because like, I don't know, I feel bad for Frankie though. She doesn't deserve something like this. All around, like, I wasn't expecting an episode that, like, tested the bounds of, like, what it would be to be in Foster's home, and seeing Frankie test that bound, too, like, it's so funny. I love how this show just jumps into its other characters like that.
Gosh, we've always wanted an imaginary friend. Sally and I have never been able to imagine one ourselves. No creativity.
The next episode we have is actually a Duchess episode, which I feel like I haven't seen a lot of her in general. Like, we did in the first season, and then, like, very rarely in the second season, but this one is, like, almost fully about her, and I was not expecting that. It has, like, a really dark and creepy vibe to it, because she just makes everybody in the house miserable, especially Frankie. Poor Frankie. She, like, makes her open her eyelids in the morning, just because she's that pretentious.
Why are you making that hideous face?
What face?
Oh, I forgot. You always look like that.
She reminds me of, like, one of the Real Housewives. Like, I feel like this is how they would act. It turns out Madame Foster even makes her clothes for her every morning, and she threatens to go out naked. I didn't realize she was this difficult. Coco feeds her in the morning. How come we never see this on a daily basis? Mac and Bloo wonder why they don't just get rid of her because she's just that difficult. So Mr. Harriman points out this plaque that reminds us that we help any imaginary friend no matter how difficult, which is actually a pretty honorable thing to do. It's very sweet because it reminds us like what the house is all about. Meanwhile, they're just trying to get Duchess sold and out of this house, like to a point where they're going to give her away for free. They have billboards, they have everything out there. So they're doing everything logically they can.
Feel the burn! Visualize success!
Yeah, I'm visualizing you leaving.
And you could see why she rejects all these families. Like, it makes sense that nobody wants her until a family actually does want her. A family that's so crazy enough to look at her attitude like she's just a comedian and, like, super funny.
I just moved into town and saw the billboard advertising you.
Really? I'm surprised you can read.
Oh, what a charmer.
And I think that's like such a good metaphor for life, is that like people view people from such different lenses. And I do believe that somebody would look at Duchess and be like, wow, that's somebody that's really funny. This ends up in a complicated result where it turns out they live in the apartment building Mac does. Duchess moves into that same apartment building. So he's kept up all night listening to Duchess be pretentious, and the mom's like going crazy and is like, if this is kept up, we are going to have to move. So Bloo and Mac have to hatch a plan to get her out of this complex so Max doesn't have to move. They end up sneaking into the house at night to try to cause mischief, and Bloo wears like a clown mask instead of a regular mask, and I don't know why this bit is just so funny to me.
But this goes with my mittens.
He's so entertained by absolutely nothing. They cause a scene in the house just to make her get in trouble, but it turns out this family is actually super into it and is like, wow, thanks a lot, Duchess. And it's insane.
Why, great-grandmother Appleby looks so much more like her true self.
Wow, thanks, Duchess.
You're the best imaginary friend we could have ever hoped for.
But we...
Terrence ends up going behind the kid's back, realizes what they're trying to do, and warns Foster's that they're trying to get Duchess back in the house. So the entire house teams up with Terrence to make sure that they can't let Duchess back in. So it's kind of crazy. Bloo and Mac essentially take Duchess and try to kidnap her.
And to be raised?
Get me down! I did not mean like that!
I love this next scene because it turns into like a war movie where all the people in the house are teaming up against Mac and Bloo, and they don't really know what's going on or why they're trying to get Duchess back at the house. They just don't want Duchess back, which is kind of disrespectful. This poor woman is treated like a toy in this section. But like, you feel bad for Mac and Bloo because Mac clearly doesn't want to move, and they're talking about moving to Singapore, which apparently Terrence says is in Wisconsin.
But we can't. If we move to Singapore, I can't go to Foster's anymore, and then Bloo will get adopted, and then I'll never see him again.
Better say goodbye to your dorky little buddy, Runt. We're moving to Wisconsin.
Which is the funniest thing ever. And there's just a lot of funny bits of like them trying to charge their way into the house, but it doesn't inevitably end up working. All the friends and Frankie end up foiling Mac and Bloo's plans, and Duchess ends up going back. And once they realize why this is happening, they actually feel bad for Mac and Bloo, and they're like, we definitely would allow her to stay if that's the case, which is very sweet of them. I didn't think they needed to do that. But yeah, Duchess episode, wasn't expecting that.
It will be a shining day because I'm going to Europe. I am going to that.
Sorry, changed my mind.
The next episode is just straightforward ridiculous. Like, it's almost like concentrated on such a boring topic, but they end up making it really fun. It's called Foster's Goes to Europe, and it's all about everybody going on this trip to Europe. Surprise, surprise. I actually covered this topic in another video because I was doing like the worst episodes, and a lot of people voted for this episode, which I could totally understand why, but looking back, I'm like, this is also pretty good. Most of this episode is contained to just the parlor, which is so cool when they managed to get a whole story out of like such a simple set. I love that Foster's is able to do this, and it's more so a Mac episode of trying to rally up everybody to get them to go on this trip to Europe, but everybody is being super difficult, with each having a different problem.
Yeah, Mac, I'm not so sure about this whole Europe thing.
What?
Sure, I can wow people with my amazing French skills, but the rest of it sounds kind of boring.
Each person is distracted by a different thing. Like, for example, Mr. Harriman is just rewriting the rules of this whole trip and is like, oh, I have to rewrite the rules again, and keeps going back to his office, just frustrating everybody.
Time zones? I'll be back momentarily.
No, wait up.
Wilt and Eduardo don't know what to pack, so they keep packing like horrible things. And yeah, Mac just doesn't even know what to do to get these guys to go. We get a completely new character randomly just in this episode that wants to go to Europe, and apparently her creator is from Europe, and it's really sweet because it's like, oh, maybe she is gonna get to go, and so Blue gives up his ticket for her, but then decides to take it back, and it's really disrespectful, honestly. They keep teasing her that she's going on the trip, causing her into multiple musical numbers.
I'm going to Europe!
Sorry, changed my mind.
Blue starts getting difficult and is like, I'm not gonna go anymore. And so, like, because of this giving up the ticket thing, everybody's confused. And then Wilt starts giving up his ticket, so does Eduardo. And next thing you know, Mac is, like, dealing with a whole new scenario. Then right when it comes down to the actual wire, everybody has to go to the bathroom. So they all go to the bathroom, then they all have to go again because it took so long.
Okay, we got the tickets. Everybody went to the bathroom.
I could do with a spot of lunchtime fare.
We'll get food at the airport.
Airport food? Ah!
Mr. Harriman keeps rewriting the rules to accommodate for this going to the bathroom thing. Next thing you know, they get to the bus and it is broken down. They can't get to the place. So it's like almost as if it's too late at this point. Like there's no way they're gonna get there on time. Somebody who cares about time a lot, this would give me a lot of anxiety, and I super understand how Mac is dealing with all this. Like, what is going on with these people?
Come on, Mac! We've been waiting forever! Ah!
Right when everybody actually gets ready to go, the bus is fixed, it's time, Madam Foster gets a hug out of Mac and starts hugging him for like super long, and it's just so awkward. And at first it seems like a comedy bit, but we learn later that she just took the tickets from Mac, and her girlfriends are headed off to Europe without them, and so they're stuck at the house, which is kind of really disrespectful. I don't know why Madam Foster would do something like that, but also be capable of opening up an entire house for needy friends. Like, what is going on with this character?
Not done!
Just a really stressful episode all around, and you feel bad for Mac and are just like, why are these friends so difficult? Like, it's one thing to just like have them be in the house and like have needs, but like it's another thing to have them be like extra pretentious and specific about those needs. But all around, this episode did surprise me, and the singing Europe girl is really funny. Like, some of her numbers are just hilarious.
Could there be another ticket? Just the when my dreams seem lost at sea.
We don't need more tickets.
And in the end, she ends up going to Europe with Madame Foster, so I guess she gets the win at the end. So it's okay that they tortured her the whole time.
Yeah, your problem.
My problem?
Yeah, after a lot of thought.
A lot of thought.
I think I'll come up with a solution.
Now, Season 3, Episode 7 is actually a really important one because we get introduced to a complete new character. It's called Go, Goo, Go, and as you guys can remember, there is a character named Goo who just has the imagination of a sweet little girl, and it just comes up with everything right on the spot. It's actually pretty wholesome and leads to a lot more problems than you would think. The episode starts with Mac trying to get a giant canoe or like sled out of a tree, which is crazy. Like, how did Blue get that up there? It's so funny.
How did you get an 8-man toboggan stuck in a tree? And 2, why do you need it right now in the middle of June?
He ends up falling on this girl named Goo, and he feels really bad. Blue and Mac bring her into the house to kind of help her get better, which is kind of sweet, but she starts talking so much and babbling, and you do not understand this speed of this girl. Like, she is so crazy.
Goo, this is my imaginary friend, Blue.
Oh my gosh, this is your imaginary friend. He's so great. He's so simple and cute and economical, Mac. How in the world does someone like you come up with an imaginary friend as great as this? I mean, look.
Having Blue and Mac never met her before, it makes sense why they're so entranced by this concept. She starts quickly imagining up a bunch of friends at like breakneck speed, which means there's a bunch of people who need homes, like homeless Foster's friends, which is kind of insane. Blue just loves this about her, and he thinks she's so sweet. Pretty much excited by every time she comes up with new friends, and of course Blue would love the most inconvenient person ever. Frankie comes out really frustrated because apparently they know this girl, and she's the reason the house is so full, so she's technically a public nuisance. Mac thinks she's a good person and feels like everybody's kind of being a little bit rude to her, but his kindness kind of bites him in the butt when she keeps ending up inventing even more friends and letting her in the house, which is kind of crazy that, like, it's causing such an issue.
She becomes completely overstimulated and thinks and creates and imagines willy-nilly.
No, see, my creator's name was Kevin.
This girl is just so hyper, and of course her selfishness attracts Mac for some reason. He's just as drawn to selfish people without realizing it. He actually does care about her. He feels like she's, like, not given a fair shake just because she's annoying, and it's not really cool of her. But, you know, obviously he gets why this is going on.
And we don't want to hear about the warm, fuzzy feeling you get whenever you're with her. She's got to stay out.
I got it, but listen.
And don't even think about telling us how wonderful it is to daydream about what it will be like to kiss her.
Ugh.
And he feels really bad when he notices that the friends in the house start having to sleep on the bus because she's just making too many friends. So while we think Mac is a good person for, like, trying to keep her in the zeitgeist, it is kind of problematic that everything she does is screwing everybody else up. So he ends up making a huge scene of it and yelling at her, which is actually kind of crossing the line, and you feel kind of bad for her.
I don't like you! Don't you get it? Nobody likes you. You're annoying and weird, and you talk too much, and Blue's name is not Chester. Mr. Harriman is not a badger. That's not how you play checkers, and protein doesn't come from bananas. It comes from nuts.
So eventually he ends up talking to her and making her feel better because he's like, oh, this is not fair. In the end, it turns out Mac's kindness was going to matter because Goo is just as good at selling her imagination as she is making them. So it turns out she gets her friends all their own homes with different families, and that's actually kind of perfect. If anything, this is like a superpower, and it's kind of sweet to see them, like, promote something like this because, yeah, it's true, like, an imagination is definitely a cool thing to have. And Mac definitely got pushed off the line, but at least he learned his lesson and realized that he should stick to his guns, and his kindness was actually a good idea. Now we got this new character of Goo, which I think is super funny. I love how she just talks at, like, a speedy pace, and the fact that Bloo is obsessed with her is even funnier because everybody else doesn't like her, which is not fair. Come on, guys, give her a chance. But they all start warming up to her and, like, being nice to her, and it's definitely a wholesome episode, and spoiler alert, she comes back later, okay?
The stalker!
The next episode is kind of like a Harriman addiction episode. It's called Crime After Crime, and at first I'm like, this has to be about Bloo, it has to be about, like, something he's doing, but it's not. It's about Mr. Harriman. It's kind of crazy. There's a bunch of recurring jokes in this episode, and the main one is that Frankie is trying to make a dish that is really good, but requires carrots to be made, and since they don't have carrots or constantly out of them, she cannot make this dish.
Run!
And she's judged by Madam Foster the entire episode until she gets this dish right, which is so funny because of course she never has the right materials. Mr. Harriman starts going haywire on everybody for no reason, and you're like, what is going on with this guy? And then you see him run into the closet and sneak a bunch of carrots. Turns out he has a bunch of them hidden all throughout the house, and he feels super guilty about it. You actually feel bad for him a little bit.
Then I'll now be pitching up the name Fosters, be rid of all remaining carrots, and never again fall into temptation. Of this, you have my solemn oath. Right after these ones.
Bloo actually tries to get in trouble from Mr. Harriman because he wants to be punished, and it's so funny because he is on a punishing rant. He just doesn't want to punish Bloo. And then every time Bloo jumps on the bed, it breaks parts of the ceiling that actually make Frankie's meal worse and worse. So she's just stuck in the kitchen with Madam Foster until she gets this dish right. Nobody really knows what's going on with Mr. Harriman. He sort of acts normal to them, and so he ends up creating a bunch of issues. Like, Wilt is guilty because he doesn't know what is right and what is wrong because Mr. Harriman hasn't told him.
I'm punishing myself. He was too busy punishing everybody else.
He punishing everybody?
Yeah, so you'd be smart to stay out of his way.
The way Mr. Harriman starts getting so neurotic actually starts coming out and affecting every friend in the house without them realizing it. Nobody even cares that he has this addiction and sees himself as a crazy person. He ends up getting in a lot of sticky situations because of this addiction, and it just seems worse and worse. He actually calls the cops on himself.
100 carrots? And what's your location, sir? Got it. Remain calm, sir. We're on our way. There's been a robbery at 1123 Wilson Way. 100 carats.
Diamond heist, huh? Let's roll.
And you're like, what is going on? This man. Frankie ends up having a full-on panic attack because of not being able to get this dish right, which is so funny because Bloo and Mac are not intending to ruin their dish. They're just trying to cause a bunch of trouble, and it results in Mac getting kicked out of the house, which actually kind of sucks. And then the police show up looking for Mr. Harriman, but end up chasing Mac instead. Oh my god, this episode is so complicated. So yeah, Mr. Harriman is running away from his addiction. Meanwhile, Mac is the one getting arrested.
You don't have the guts. Righto. Now, is it Miss or Ms?
In the end, it turns out Coco actually did steal some prized jewels, and the cops catch Mr. Harriman with it, so he inevitably does go to jail. What? And then Wilt puts himself in jail because he doesn't know how to follow the rules because Mr. Harriman. And it's just so funny that everything kind of dominoed like that, and then they all ended up in jail. Like, how did the episode end so negatively?
I can't thank you enough for helping me turn myself in. It's really about time I taught myself a lesson. I mean, I've been standing on rugs all my life. I'd shake your hand, but then I'd be touching it.
All around, it's so funny to see Mr. Harriman be the one struggling with addiction. I never realized how many episodes he had. Like, he had the camping episode where he became savage, and now he's just having a problem? I don't know where this is all coming from.
Mi brother es tu casa. Sleep tight, little amigo.
This next episode actually makes me really uncomfortable, so it's called Land of the Fleas, episode 9, and it's about Eduardo. I like that we got another Eduardo episode. This season's really good at giving each character like 1 or 2 episodes, which I like. Eduardo is getting his hair care done, or his fur cur. I don't know, he has fur, so it's different. Eduardo has a little puppy that's his imaginary friend. He was actually introduced in season 1, and I forgot that he even came throughout this episode. This dog ends up getting fleas that end up running onto Eduardo. So he starts itching, and it starts becoming really gross. He uses the entire bathroom, and starts to affect everybody in the house because of his itchiness.
Oh, you took my fleas? Oh, you big meanie!
No, but I wish we did. Man, I want fleas so bad.
He tries to ignore it, go to sleep, but, you know, it just gets worse and worse. And these fleas end up starting to build a home on his body, which is insane. So, yeah, he has a bunch of family of fleas living on him, and he, like, talks to them, befriends them, and they start to have a house. And they even animate the fleas, which is kind of scary.
We trust you, Eduardo. We know you won't, though, Eduardo. We know you'll protect us, Eduardo.
It reminds me a lot of Horton Hears a Who, you know, the Dr. Seuss book where he was talking to a bunch of these small little creatures, the Who's, and yeah, Eduardo's doing the same thing, but it's not about him seeming crazy, which, although he does seem crazy, but it's about him, like, overstating his welcome, and these fleas start making a full home in his body, and he doesn't know how much more he could handle. Meanwhile, Bloo is actually getting jealous? Oh my god, so Bloo wishes he has fleas.
Why would you want fleas?
Because Eduardo has them. He always gets everything cool.
But he doesn't have fur, as Mac likes to remind him, and he just keeps on trying to get fleas, which is why is he even trying to do that? Meanwhile, Frankie and Mr. Harriman try to help Eduardo with his fleas, but he doesn't want to get rid of them. He's like defending them. It's like almost heroic in a way. So yeah, they keep trying to trick him, get a bunch of imaginary friends that are supposed to comb him out, which I don't know why they couldn't just use tools.
Let's get started. It's your lucky day, you know, with the free brushing and all. What's that, guys?
Yeah, he senses this as a trap, so he tries to get away from them. Meanwhile, Bloo ends up shaving all of Eduardo's fur off so he could have the fleas, which I don't know why he wanted them, okay? So yeah, Eduardo's fully naked, and Bloo is stuck with all the fleas. The fleas start an entire colony and live on the fur, and it's kind of gross, but they end up having like a town hall, and Bloo is just horrible as a host. So the fleas end up ganging up on everybody in the house, even getting Mr. Harriman to beat himself up. And the fleas are threatening everybody, which that is not how Horton Hears a Who goes. This is a surprising shock for the episode.
Step aside, I'll talk to them. They love me.
Ow! Shut it, Bloo! We do not love you! You've destroyed our city!
So yeah, they end up shaving everybody's fur off so they don't have to worry about these itchy guys. And so they put all the fur into one bedroom and allow the Fleas to just live there. So it's kind of a happy ending for everybody, which I was not expecting. I mean, everybody except for Blue, because it's like, why do you purposely want Fleas, Blue? He just keeps doing that. Whatever. All around fun episode. Good that Eduardo got his own little show. This next episode is kind of like a Hallmark movie or some kind of Christmas movie. They're just really good at like completely shifting their genres in this season, because A Lost Claus is a Christmas special but also a Foster's episode, and it actually touches on some really interesting topics. Like, these guys are just not just telling normal stories. So it is Christmas at Foster's, and the snow is falling, and everything looks all Christmassy, which is kind of cool because they never have like a bunch of reefs up or like snow around the place, and everybody's just in the holiday spirit, which is super fun.
You can't be serious. Just one? Isn't that like against the law or something?
Well, Blue, Foster's doesn't have a lot of money to...
Call the police! Bring in the National Guard! Contact the CIA!
You think it's all nice and exciting until Blue realizes that the house only gives one present to each friend. And he's like, this is a travesty. What do we do? And his like eyes locked in on Mr. Harriman, determined to change this whole thing. And meanwhile, Mac deals with his own issue by seeing an imaginary Santa Claus and then another Santa Claus. He's like having an existential crisis because he's like, wait, is Santa Claus imaginary or just not real? And it becomes like a huge question that nobody seems comfortable answering.
Kids get so excited about Christmas, tons of these guys get imagined. Happens every year.
So none of these guys were the real Santa?
As real as my great Aunt Fanny.
Well, what does that mean?
Oh, nothing. Listen, Mac, if you see the real Santa Claus, tell him I want magical self-cleaning toilets for Christmas.
Frankie starts giving him the runaround, and he starts panicking hardcore. Meanwhile, Blue is having a different problem where he's like, I just want to get more presents. So he decides to target Mr. Harriman, dress up as a bunch of ghosts, and try to convince him that unless he gives out a bunch of presents this year, like, he is going to go down.
Wait, don't you mean Jacob Marley?
Never mind!
Tonight you will be visited by 3 ghosts, and they will teach you the true meaning of Christmas, Mon.
And it's so funny, he has a bunch of different costumes. Like, at first he's Bob Marley, then he's a present. Oh my gosh, and then he's a robot. So Mr. Harriman is just definitely scared and doesn't know what to do about this. Meanwhile, we go back to Mac, who's having an existential crisis, and with nobody answering any of his questions, he just grows curiouser and curiouser. It's like, he goes to show up and talk to Santa at the mall, and it even makes it more confusing for him.
You lied to me. You're not really Santa Claus. You're fired.
Madam Foster kind of gives him a really sweet talk about, like, you'll find out when you're meant to find out, and whatever you're supposed to know, you'll know, which is kind of crazy. I'm so interested in, like, if Santa Claus exists in this universe, or they're portraying him to be this imaginary friend. Like, they could go any route at this point, and it's so interesting seeing Mac care so much. Like, he's waiting all night to figure out if he's gonna get presents. He actually asks Santa for underwear, just to prove he exists.
I would totally be cool with underwear. Seriously, I would love underwear. That would be a perfect sign, Santa.
Like, he's like, give me something I don't even want. So then the next morning, he's looking through all his gifts, praying that he got underwear to prove Santa is real. And, you know, he's just so sad, and we're, like, worried about him. We don't want him to not have a good Christmas. And then, of course, Blue's plan backfired because Mr. Harriman is getting rid of all Christmas stuff. He's just scared of Christmas at this point. So Blue ruined it by being selfish. Oh, well.
Exactly. I don't want one present.
Not one single present. Oh, the imaginary friends will be terribly disappointed.
No, they won't, Pop. They'll love it, Boop.
In the end, they actually have everything being solved by Santa Claus coming through, giving all the presents to everybody in Foster's, bringing back Christmas, and even Mac believes in him again because he gets his underwear, as he expected. But they do build up anticipation to make you think that he doesn't get his underwear, which is so funny. But yeah, he does, and it's so perfect.
Yes! Santa is real! The real Santa Claus would never give someone as naughty as you anything but coal.
Bloo ends up getting a bunch of coal, and that's kind of funny with the way the episode ends, and it's definitely necessary. I like how that actually, like, comes into play, and Mac is able to believe him because, of course, Bloo deserved coal. Like, that's crazy.
First, he has to build up his strength so he can save the world from robots.
Got it.
And... action!
The next episode is definitely one of my favorites of Foster's, for sure. It's called One False Movie. And you get to really see how much of a kid Mac really is, which you forget because he's always being responsible. But yeah, like, he's just an innocent kid. He's making a video report on his friends at Foster's. And of course, you know, like, everybody doesn't know how to act on camera, but it is cute seeing, like, him go around and record stuff.
Hi, I'm Mac, and this is my movie. That's Foster's. Every day after school, I come here and hang out with a bunch of them.
He shows Bloo, and Bloo is like, no, this is horrible. And it's like, come on, Bloo, be nice. Bloo ends up taking over and is like, let me edit this for you, and I'll make a real movie out of it. So the next day, Mac shows up with a tape, and Bloo is like, okay, here you go. And it turns out to just add a bunch of farts to the stuff Mac already recorded.
Just be yourself.
All right. Hello there, Mac. My name is Eduardo.
Which is not creative at all, but the entire class starts laughing, and he gets sent to the principal's. Okay? The principal is not mad. He's actually like, hey, we want to enter you in the film festival. And then it's like, why in the world was that inspiring that? So now Mac actually needs Bloo's help because he doesn't want to be embarrassed, and, you know, obviously Bloo made that video, so why would Bloo not be the one to help? Eduardo, meanwhile, is obsessed with this, like, Dora Explorer ripoff, and he just, like, watches this kid show all day long. It's so funny.
Can you say red? That's right. Red. Red. Red.
People make fun of him, and he feels bad about himself, which I do not like. So Bloo ends up using a bunch of money and as much as he could possibly get his hands on to create the craziest movie ever. And we actually get to see what a movie producer's experience is like, because Bloo keeps asking Mac to bring back money.
I have the strength to go save the world.
Cut! Perfect! Good job, Cordy.
Bloo, what does any of this have to do with friendship?
Oh, that's the name of the spaceship.
We get little interspersed scenes of what Bloo's filming, but we never get to actually understand it. And it makes so little sense with the more he films.
Yes? What is it?
It's so funny because the imaginary friend that is the camera is the one filming it. Like, of course they have to have that. Mac ends up doing a bunch of illegal things to help Bloo make the money he needs, which is so sad. Honestly, it's a really depressing episode for Mac, seeing him go through all this.
You spent our entire budget on that?
Don't be ridiculous. I also got this beret.
He even has to revert to stealing from Foster's, which actually crosses a line, and none of this stuff is enough for Bloo. He's just, like, so unimpressed by everything, and you feel horrible for Mac. Eventually, they get to the school, and they play this whole movie, and it is the most ridiculous thing you'd ever seen.
My movie is called T-Rexatron Alien Wolf 3, a prequel in time, The Unrelenting. I hope you like it.
It's about Wilt being like this action hero, and it doesn't make any sense. He transforms into a bunch of different things. It's clear the money was spent in unnecessary places, to a point where we don't even know what's happening. There's even CGI Eduardo, which is kind of nightmare fuel. I can't believe they did this as a part of it. And they do a knockoff song of Hey Now, You're a Rock Star, which I wasn't expecting at all.
Yeah, hey now, yeah, yeah, shine up.
And then inevitably, the entire movie gets erased by Eduardo's Kid Show. So this entire audience is watching this crazy movie, but then an episode of Dora the Explorer, essentially. And Eduardo is just listening in the audience, like super appeased by this whole situation.
What do you say when you hear that?
Excuse me.
That's right. Excuse me.
And it's just so funny. In the end, Mac tries to make it up to everybody, but it turns out Madam Foster was the one who bought all of her stuff back, so there's no actual problem. He's lucky to have gotten out of that. It's just so funny seeing him in that, like, complicated adult situation where he's like, I need to provide as a producer, and it's like, I can't believe Bloo is that difficult. It is the relationship between a director and producer, though. Like, I'm not surprised to see it. All around, one of my favorite episodes. I love episodes that involve, like, trying to make a movie. It's always done in, like, a hilarious way. SpongeBob did it really good. A lot of shows did it.
But Bloo, since you've been here, you've broken the statue of Madame Foster, opened a secret door wreaking havoc on everyone, uploaded a video to make an international fool of Mr. Harriman, flooded the house, threw a party against house rules, sabotaged a date Frankie had, destroyed a beloved toy elephant, completely ruined my reputation at school, blew the roof off the house.
Your point?
Speaking of commonly done episode tropes, which Foster does really good, by the way, they have such a unique concept that it does mold these shows into really unique things. We have episode 12, Setting a President. So this is one where basically they're doing an election episode, and I love these because obviously it gives the cast a chance to, like, speak out about their beliefs, and things just go haywire so quickly. It's between Frankie, Mr. Harriman, and Bloo of all people.
Senorita Frankie and Senor Bloo is both trying to unseat the cucumber.
You mean incumbent?
See, the cucumber.
Frankie is so tired of Mr. Harriman's rules that she's like, I am going to run up against you for the House President. So it becomes this whole new campaign going against each other. Of course, Bloo wants to get involved for no reason and just likes to start speaking out against random things.
I'm sick of the way things are run around here. It's like it's purposely designed to get me into trouble.
No, it's not. You just break all the rules, Bloo.
Exactly.
But yeah, this whole campaign just starts going to everybody in the house. Bloo starts bribing people. Mr. Harriman realizes he's not liked. And Frankie honestly just deserves it the whole time. They do this funny, like, newscast, like, updates on the election, and it is so cute because they use, like, a cardboard cutout, and it's like, what's going on here? Bloo just starts to dress up as Abe Lincoln, which is so funny, because at the first debate, they're all, like, fighting with each other, and it's very clear that Frankie is the only one sane enough to win this.
This is for Frankie. What is 2 plus 3?
5?
Senor Harriman?
Well, of course it's 5, you numbskull.
Azul?
Well, Ed, my opponents say 5, but you know what I say? 5 is not good enough. I say 6.
Mr. Harriman actually gets really freaked out because he's going to lose his job, and he doesn't have any other reason to exist. And this is so funny. It's another Mr. Harriman episode. He begs Bloo to team up with him, and the two start trashing and slandering Frankie. Yeah, they even invent a whole song.
22 years ago, she could barely speak a word and spent most of her time sleeping and crying. Let me ask you, residents of Foster's, do you want a big, dumb crybaby running this house? I'm Mr. Harriman, and I approve this message.
And it's just so funny watching their smear campaign against Frankie, because she's just like, what am I supposed to do about this? And so she ends up calling the entire house and trying to give a good speech, which is actually really sweet. I feel like Frankie always has deserved to win. In the end, she ends up winning with most of the votes, and everybody else is, like, kind of sad. Well, not everybody else, just Mr. Harriman. So he ends up going off and trying to find a new reason to live, which is kind of sad. And then you see him, like, actually scrounge for a job. Like, he wants to work at the races as the rabbit, as, like, the Santa Claus, which is crazy because we already had the Santa episode. And yeah, he's just so sad. He ends up working at this as a cashier in, like, some grocery store, and Frankie starts to feel bad for him. All around, like, obviously we give the job back to Mr. Harriman by the end of the episode. It has to go back to normal. She learns that he does not get paid that much, so she gives up the job, which is such a funny reason to turn this whole thing around. But, you know, my favorite part of this episode is just the smear campaign. How funny is it that he's doing this to Frankie? I don't know why. It's just knowing that everything works out in the end makes it even funnier because you don't feel guilty about it.
Frankie, 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 her mind's an utter blankie. Frankie, Frankie, Frankie,
she never says please or thank you.
Frankie, 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 she deserves a spanky. Frankie, Frankie, Frankie,
she wants Rob to banky.
But yeah, Setting a President is an interesting episode, taking the best tropes and actually keeping it funny.
Because the one who gets the room is the one who gets it. It's this good. I win.
Next episode is 13, Room with a Feud, and this officially marks the episode that usually is the season finale, but this one actually has 14 episodes, which I was not expecting. I think the Christmas episode didn't necessarily count as an episode, so they had to like throw in an extra one here, which I kind of like. I'm all for more episodes, guys.
Mr. Harriman, being of sound body, mind, and spirit, do declare on this day, Wednesday at...
This one is about a new room opening up in Foster's, and the main cast all want it. And I remember this episode really well, actually. It kind of reminds me of the Squeaker Box episode when they're all borrowing that little squeaky toy. Yeah, this one ends up having all the characters turn against one another, and I love that. That's such a good concept for having conflict.
I deserve it way more than you!
You do not! I deserved it since the beginning of time! It's my birthright!
It's so funny because nobody's interested initially. Like, we learned this guy Poindexter had just gotten adopted, and Bloo realizes that now that his room is empty, it's a single room. Like, he could take it, since nobody else knows about it. Until Coco hears about it and is like, why don't I deserve the room? And then Coco starts complaining to Mr. Harriman, and Frankie starts backing her up, like, hey, she's a girl, she deserves it. And Mr. Harriman gets, like, super flustered.
I had no idea there were so many female concerns. Miss Francis, please move Miss Coco's possessions in post-haste.
Next thing you know, slowly, one at a time, people start realizing why they want the room, and it's such a delayed reaction. Like, at first, Eduardo is like, wait, why wouldn't I get the room? I deserve it. And then Wilt starts realizing that maybe it's meant for him, because it is dressed up like a basketball place with extended roof.
Master Wilt, why would you desire a room with such tall ceilings, a long bed, and basketball wallpaper? Ah, I do see your point.
I do feel like I'm on Wilt's side with this. Like, he does not sleep in a bed. He literally is on the floor. Like, why wouldn't he get the room? But yeah. Then there's this, like, fifth imaginary friend that is just not involved at all. We've never seen him before, but he wants the room too. And it's so random that he's, like, involved, but whatever. So Bloo ends up trashing the room so that nobody else wants it, which I don't really understand why, but then they kind of still do. And then they start competing with each other in nonsense things to try to decide who will get the room. Mr. Harriman's like, you decide between yourself, and it's like the worst idea ever. I don't know why Mr. Harriman would suggest that. So Frankie is like, what are they gonna do? They create such a mess all throughout the house, and then she gets them to do chores for them just through deciding, like, who will get the room.
There's a new rule?
No, it's the same rule. Go back to work. And you, get out of here.
Dear me.
Whoever gets the hat wins the room!
And then they realize, like, they can't really do that the whole time. So they all start turning on each other, and it's actually kind of sad seeing them angry. And this new imaginary friend ends up, like, insisting that this might be his room. So they all team up against this guy now.
What are y'all doing? Oh, hey there, neighbor. We're just practicing our Oompa band.
See, we practice all the time.
If it's too loud for you, I guess you'll just have to move.
Until they get this guy adopted, so that way he's not even a competitor anymore, and then they're back to competing with each other, which I don't even know why this whole thing goes down. In the end, Madam Foster comes to settle the whole debate, give everybody a straw. Whoever gets the smallest straw gets the room, which ends up having everybody go into that room. Kind of ridiculous. Bloo is alone in his room and realizes he's terrified of sleeping alone, so he never really would have worked with the room anyway, which I think is really such a funny ending to the whole thing, because of course he got the karma by the end. But it is funny watching them, like, all fight for it. I really like this episode, like, especially since none of them really wanted it at first. Like, seeing them turn into wanting it, that's just so funny to me.
Guess what? I'm gonna be the first one to collect them all!
This next episode is essentially like a Pokemon parody. It's called Cuckoo for Coco cards. I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but I actually remember this really well. It's one of the funniest ones I forgot, honestly.
Over here! Da-da-da! Da-da-da! Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da!
So Mac is inviting a field trip to Foster's home. Bloo takes advantage of this situation and tries to get the most attention out of it, and he's brutally upset when he doesn't get it. Yeah, everybody is entranced by Coco, and I get it. Coco's pretty interesting. Coco is pretty upset with how much disrespect Bloo is giving her, so she creates Coco cards and gives them to all the kids, which actually turn out to be a phenomenon. Everybody but Bloo gets these cards, even all the friends at Foster's.
I got 2 sloppy bows.
Oh, I don't have him. I'll trade you for a George Mucus.
Trading cards are totally lame.
And these cards are actually really cool, like just as cool as Pokemon cards, if not better, because the stuff on the back that's written, honestly, I wish I had a card based on myself. Bloo is bitter and will not apologize, so everything keeps escalating worse and worse. Like, he can't get any cards from Coco, so he keeps going to everybody else in the house, and he starts whining and starts being a little baby about it all.
Come on.
No, Bloo.
Come on.
No, Bloo.
Come on.
Go ahead. Whine all you want. It's not gonna work.
And you know what? It works for the most part, which I was confused. It turns out the card that's based on him is the least rare card. Like, it's the most common card, and people use it for the most dumb things ever. And I don't know why. This is just such a funny bit that his card is worth nothing.
Blue, 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 blue.
So to prove to Coco that this doesn't upset him, he tries to collect them all. And at first it doesn't work, and then he does collect them all, and then he has to sell all of them to appease this monkey, and honestly, this just keeps getting crazier and crazier. Coco even invents a Series 2 edition when he collects them all, and honestly, Bloo, I would give up at this point. Every time she, like, turns the tables on him, he just tries harder and harder, and he honestly gets more and more desperate. I've never seen Bloo, like, this stressful. Like, honestly, it stresses me out, too.
I collected them all! All! You hear me? A-H-L! All!
Meanwhile, Eduardo is trying to change his personality that's written on the card. I don't know why he cares so much about this, because it says scaredy baby, and then he's like, oh, well, I want to get better than that. So he keeps doing different things to appear better, like sliding down the staircase. Like, I don't know why he thinks that's gonna change anything. And then he ends up with this gigantic roller coaster outside of Foster's to prove himself. Bloo comes down to only missing one card, and it turns out to be the card he took advantage of this whole time, his own Bloo card. Yeah, so it was common at one point, but now he's essentially, like, written off all of his resources to it. So he heads to Eduardo, who has actually one more, and ends up accidentally knocking him into this roller coaster, and inevitably he ends up setting this card on fire and losing it altogether.
Yes! My collection is complete!
And he's so stubborn throughout this, like, he refuses to apologize despite the fact it would be, like, so easy and Coco would just give him more cards. But yeah, he keeps denying it the entire time. When he sees his personality written on this card, it's clear that he is being a jerk and he realizes his ways. So he apologizes to Coco by throwing all of his cards into the fire. Aw, okay, so he's really trying to change. This is good for Bloo. This has never happened for him before. And that's kind of how the episode and season ends. Honestly, it's a really funny episode to end on, and there's not a lot of character growth needed. Even though Bloo probably makes his least selfish act ever, like, that's such a good moment for him.
Princess! Bunch more important! Coco, I'm sorry.
It just reminds me how good Foster's is. I feel like the first 3 seasons, like, we're 39 episodes in, and it's still just as good as, like, the second season, which I really liked to watch. Like, this show just is trucking on in a really positive way. And the fact that we added Goo to this season is, like, super helpful because, honestly, it's just going in an upward direction. And all the genre shifts just make it such a more impressive show. make me excited for the next season to actually like expand upon these ideas. So thank you guys so much for watching Foster's Home with me. I would love to get to the 4th season, but I definitely want to take a break since I've been doing these back to back. But I would love to know what you guys think. Are you gonna keep watching them? Are you gonna check out Johnny 2000 Tunes? Anyway, have a great day.